Hello, everybody. We're just going to wait a few moments for people to join. Be right back with you. All right, good morning, everybody. This is Henry Kramer, 605 Chaser, and welcome to the show broadcast. There's a lot to get to. First, I do want to thank our sponsors, Mission Nutrition, Fit Revolution, and Refuel, all located in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Making the choices of what to put into your body can be difficult. So stop by one of these great locations to get hooked up for free with a coach while you're there. Maybe grab a protein shake like the Snickers protein shake, or maybe you need a little healthy energy. One of my favorites is to fuel my body for the day that I need the healthy energy is the Shark Bite Energy Bomb. At Mission Nutrition, you can talk with Sarah or Jeremy. At Refuel Nutrition, you can speak with Jody. And then there's also CJ and uh, goodness, I forgot his first name, Caleb, at Fit Revolution. That's terrible. But stop by any one of their great locations. I went from over 200 pounds down to 165 pounds, have kept that off for a number of years. So certainly check them out and get hooked up with one of their great coaches and get you on the right track. We also have our great sponsor in the construction world, Prairie Pro SD general contractors, Prairie Pro General Contractors. You can check them out at prairieprosd.com. Let's go ahead and get to the weather. The title of this was Are We Ready for Snow, basically. Well, let's get to all things related to that. But before we do, we want to give you the 7-day forecast. Here it is, updated at 8 a.m. We have 60s for highs today in the Sioux Falls area. Mostly clear tonight, 46. Probably the last night that you're really going to, if you can handle the cold and keep the windows open, in my opinion, the last night for a while that we're going to be able to keep those windows open overnight. Um, and because we dipped down into the 30s, now that 40% chance for Thursday night showers, I really think that's overdone just a little bit. Um, I was on teeter-tottering on that, but it's going to hit a dry pocket, so it may be a little difficult for us to really see any moisture. I'll get to where our moisture is coming in just a little bit, but I want you to hang tight because we got lots to go over with. But then, as you can see, as we get into the weekend, a fairly mild weekend, and then as we get into your next work week, we rise back up into close to the mid 70s. We may even approach 80s out west, but we'll have to see how that goes. But mostly clear, dry, high pressure, continuing to dominate most of our area, keeping us prone to the drought worsening, unfortunately. But there is some good news in the forecast, and I'll get to that in a little bit here. Let's talk about the severe weather chances here for today before we go any further. No data found for today. We do have possibility tomorrow is when we see the possibility in areas of Iowa, and that also is highly conditional. Again, there could be some dry pockets there that make it a little bit difficult, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and bring up NAM 3K here and show a loop of how that might look like. As you can see, some of those pockets of showers trying to get going early today, but really doesn't mount to anything. But then our next wave comes through from the west here, and this is where we have some of those pockets of showers possible in the Sioux Falls area for tomorrow. But again, not expecting it to be overkill here, but this is what it's showing as overkill. And then there's those pockets. Here's the marginal risk for severe weather sometime after sunset for those areas. So if you have some plans outdoors in the Iowa area, Des Moines, and then some of the metro areas there, you can certainly see as the night progresses, they get more numerous, but I think they're going to be mainly a wind event. I don't believe that they would be ended up being a hail event, significant hail or anything like that. Let's take a look at the risk for tornadoes. Gosh, can't believe I'm even thinking of that, but day 2 for tornado risk, thankfully, pretty much nothing for tomorrow. There's the wind risk, nothing for tomorrow, but there is that 5 very low chance of some hail. Nothing real significant. That's for tomorrow. I'm not going to go any further into that, but let's go ahead. Oh, cool. Low Tech 1. Thank you. I'm glad that you were able to join us. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the rest of the weather here. What I want to talk about is our tropics. I have a tendency, if any of you have watched me, I have a tendency to kind of skip all around. I guess it's my ADHD, if you will. All right, let's get to that. All right, let's get to the tropics. It's been kind of since Milton passed through, it's been kind of dormant and continues to stay there, thankfully. We don't need any more tropical weather, but there is things that the National Hurricane Center is looking at. The Climate Prediction Center has this out showing a greater than 20% chance November 6th through the 12th of some tropical storm development or tropical development. Let me not say tropical storm, but tropical development. And then up in the Yucatan area, that we've seen much of the severe weather in the tropics get going is still highly active. Lots of warm air to deal with there, as well as over in areas to the east of Cuba, out farther into the Caribbean. So those are some areas that you definitely want to watch out for. I would say probably in the next 7 to 10 days, we're going to probably hear more about that. And let's go ahead and kind of show you that real quick. I do have the GFS. I'm going to kind of focus on the tropics for right now. As you can see, we do have this area of low pressure that is continuing to stay out there, which is great. But what we want to watch for, you'll be able to see the low pressure in the southern part of this map here. There it is. Is it minimal there on the first? But I think that's the precursor of where we would expect things to start developing even more. As you can see, low pressure over um, southern portion um, of Florida and more development. It's center continuing there. This is a long ways out, mind you, but you know, uh, plenty of time for it to develop over in the eastern Atlantic. And this would suggest that we could possibly have a tropical storm around the 3rd of November to hit the eastern coastline of Florida. Uh, Lots to work out, and then it bounces back over to the western side of Florida. We'll just pass this all the way through. That's really the only thing that it's supporting at this point is somewhere around November 3rd. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one as well. As you probably noticed, you do see South Dakota. This is one model, so bear in mind GFS is a long-range model. I'm pretty consistent where I don't typically like to use long range models, but nonetheless, it helps us see farther out and get possibilities, quote unquote. Um, and that's really what I want to show you guys what's possible, not definite, but possible. So as we go through October 24th, let's take a look at focus on South Dakota here. As you can see, these storm development here in the Iowa area, southern part of Iowa, northern part of Missouri, and then pushes off to the eastern part of the U.S. But then as we progress this along, there's some areas of low pressure. You can see North Dakota tries to develop, but really nothing there. Just dry. As you can see, these red dashed lines, that's definitely indicating warm air sector. So warm air, I use that warm air quote pretty loosely. Warm. It's not no 90 degrees, but certainly warm enough to hinder any storm development. So then by the time we get to Halloween, we have that rain develop, move off. I don't think there's really going to be a whole lot going on there. Nothing, no washout or anything like that, because we'll have a dominating high pressure continuing to push off and keeping us dry in South Dakota. But then as we get into the first part of November, that's when things really start to develop. And we have what I call a battle between the two seasons. You'll have the rain off to the eastern part of South Dakota, and then this low pressure here, along with a blast of cooler air that's pushing from the Pacific Northwest here, will create our first chance out in western South Dakota to really see some snow. I do believe that there's going to be some measurable snow, especially up in the Black Hills area for that time. So if you have any plans on going out to see Black Hills that weekend, it would probably be a good idea to stay tuned. We do show as we get further out some more severe weather development in Oklahoma areas as well as Texas, but November 5th is like 2 weeks out. I, I really would not worry about this too much because at this point, that's so far out, it's difficult to pinpoint. Nonetheless, I did want to show you that. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek at 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. Got to check my chat, see if I have anybody curious about the persistent ridging that has dominated the central U.S. Is this a feature of the superheated Gulf, and is this the new stable state for the central U.S.? Well, great question, Low Tech One. The persistent ridging, so what I don't believe it has anything to do necessarily with the Gulf. So it's that La Nina effect that we do have. Climate Prediction Center does show that we have a 60% or greater chance of La Nina development. And I certainly believe that is what is causing that high ridge uh, or the persistent ridging, as you state, over the central part of this U.S. And we continue to see that drought in, typically in La Nina weather patterns. And we just came out of a El Nino pattern, hence the reason we had much more stormy weather. But as we go into this La Nina, unfortunately, I do believe that we're going to continue to see a drying pattern. So we're going to be thankful, of course, in areas like for our farmers and that are going to want to see that moisture. Um, and but it's going to be pretty persistent throughout this winter. I believe we're going to end up seeing the persistent ridging where we'll have that La Nina effect because the Gulf ends up staying pretty warm, and that's why we have that development of the higher chances of the hurricane development out in the eastern part of the U.S. or the eastern Atlantic. But 8 to 14 day outlook, we are showing the persistent above average temperatures over much of the central and eastern part of the U.S., while we see below normal temperatures over in the western Pacific, which is indicative of a La Nina weather pattern. And then if you take a look at the precipitation chances, 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook for October 30th through the 5th, we certainly see that above average, somewhere between the 40 or I should say 50 and 60% leading above normal. And we certainly see that with the GFS. Let's go ahead and take a look at our temperatures, what they're expecting to do over the next, this is again GFS, so we're going a little ways out, but it's a long range model that we need to use just so that we can see long term chances. It is not the all, it's not the only thing that we utilize, but the closer we get to certain dates, then we start using other weather models as well if we want a more short term forecast. As you can see, this does put temperatures into the upper 70s over the plains, almost 90 degrees in areas like Kansas, Oklahoma for the end of October, just dominating high pressure. We do have a few bouts of cold air that peaks in toward the end of the month, but then we get that ridging coming back. But I believe what we're going to see, as you can tell here, this is a long ways out. So I think this is overdone a little bit. I don't think we're going to end up that cold. I think we'll end up still staying above that a little bit, but time will tell. Let's go ahead and take a look at the composite reflective here for GFS. As you can see, that pushes off and then we get the oh, I have radar omega, so let me go back to that one, show you guys the chances for the snow. Let me get that one back up here in just a second. There we go. Get that one. All right, so let me go ahead. This is the precipitation type for GFS. I'm just going to get that loaded here. One moment. Hey, good morning, John. Do I think it's going to be a heavier moisture winter or a bit more like last year? Jury's still out, John. Um, we're going into a La Nina weather pattern, so typical La Nina supports that we end up having a um, drier than normal. Although, if we take a look at La Nina weather patterns, let me get the graphic up here. Let me get the graphic and then we can show you. All right, I'm gonna use another source here. Great question, but I wanted to kind of show you guys exactly what I'm referring to when it comes to La Nina weather patterns here. All right, so, oh goodness, of course, we got politics going crazy here. Sorry, folks. Um, this is a website. Um, goodness, let me go to Climate Prediction Center so I can get a better, wrong one. I don't like using, you know, I like using the resources that are um, the experts, if you will, such as these. All right, so best way to explain this, if I can get this over here just a bit. Um, going down a rabbit hole, folks. Sorry. All right, so the best way to explain this is, as you can see, this is the Pacific coastline. Obviously, it's a little hard for you to tell that, but this is the Pacific coastline here. And this is the warm air um, over October, August through the first part of October. As you can see, warm, but um, the SST anomalies, this is showing in Celsius. So as you can see, this blue, that's showing that the colder um, Pacific Ocean, and that's what causes our La Nina weather pattern. And so that's why we expect a La Nina weather pattern to continue. And again, to answer your question, really, John, is again, jury is certainly still out. It's difficult to say what we're going to have. A lot of folks are suggesting that I saw one site that was saying 6 to 8 feet of snow. Um, I'm not convinced that's going to be what it is this year. Um, but we'll certainly see. We'll have to see how this plays out. Join in. I will have the official update November 10th of my predictions of what the winter snowfall rates or snowfall totals will be based on my annual predictions. That's all I can say is stay tuned for that. Hey, you got to go to Korea. Good for you, man. Hopefully you didn't have to work too hard. Hopefully it was for fun. Um, let's go ahead and get back to the rest of the weather here. Sorry, I've got too many screens open. So we got this done, we got that done, and we got this done. All right, and we got that done. All right, so now what I want to show you guys is our European model, and the reason why I want to show this is you're going to be able to see you'll be able to see the movement of the jet stream basically, and show that air movement here. If I can get the goodness. You know, when I'm using more than one type of model, some of them have the capability. Let's switch over to Radar Omega here. It's much easier for me to utilize that. So I'll go to European model here and put on the 500 millibar wind. So let me zoom out so you can see the big picture here. So certainly you can see the 500 millibar wind, as you'll be able to see basically where this dips down as we put it into motion, and you'll be able to see basically where that cold air ends up dropping. So not too bad, and there right here is where the cold air starts to drop, which means basically there's that dip right here of the jet stream letting in the cooler air into here, and that's why we have that. So let's go ahead and put that continued motion. Then that cooler air continues to push off to the east, and then we have, guess what? Yep, that ridging comes back into South Dakota as our high pressure ends up um, continuing to dominate for a little while. But then we get another dip. See, folks, right here, there's a dip. Now look at this right here. Um, this is where our low pressure develops and then pushes off to the east and gives our rain chances as well as um, little bouts of snow out west because it deepens. And if I put on I don't think this one has, yeah, this one does. This has got 850 millibar, but temperature, as you can see, there's that cold air. That's the best way to illustrate things for you is that's where that jet stream is dipping down and causing the cold air there. Get back to the chat here. Thanks, Low Tech. I appreciate it. The next thing that we want to take a quick peek at is how much moisture we're expecting. Again, I got to go back to the GFS. This is between now and the valid time. So it's the best way that we can do that. One thing I don't like about Radar Omega is it just takes so long, but that's probably related to my internet connection. All right, so as you can see, lots of moisture out in the eastern coast, uh, out into the ocean, Atlantic Ocean. Let's take a look. Just curious to see how much we have for moisture there. Says almost 2 inches between now and 27th, but I think that's overdone because, um, again, going to hit dry pockets and not going to really amount to that much. I'd say probably these areas here, south of Des Moines, be lucky if they get an inch, maybe a half an inch. Gosh, they show. So here's where those storms are likely to be developing according to the GFS, around the 5th, 4th. Let's go ahead and put that into perspective here. There's those storms developing and pushing off. As you can see, a whole line here. But some of this, of course, ends up being in the, if I can turn on the precip type, some of that ends up being snow off to the areas of the upper elevations in Colorado and Wyoming. And there it is. I'm going to leave you guys with this right here. Again, one weather model only. So we don't have weather models that go out farther or go out this far. Um, and what I like to do is I like to have, as many weather models available with the updates so that I can see what patterns are consistent. But nonetheless, it is the time of the year that there's a possibility. And then if I put that in here, 33 dBz is um, thankfully not any heavy snow. It would probably be pretty light. Light flurries, probably just a dusting. And then, of course, Valentine area would have some freezing rain possible. Again, can't stress enough, this is just one weather model. And then some light rain over in this area as well. But you can see the battle going on in the northern plains here uh, as we approach later fall and begin thinking about winter preps. I'm going to have November 10th. Oh, low tech one, deep, narrow, amplified troughs are a great way to exchange energy, but they don't seem to bring the depth of cold and they move out quickly, it seems. That is great. I appreciate all the feedback and the continued chat. This is probably the most active our YouTube channel has been in a while. Of course, it's been a long time since I've had a live, so I appreciate that very much. Um, if you have any friends, certainly share this with them. That would be very thankful. I would be very thankful for that because we continue to try to keep things rolling on a very, very tight budget. Basically, no budget at all. We do the best that we can with the time that we have. I have a full-time job. I'm not trying to give you a pity party, but I have a full-time job. I got 2 kids, a wife, and so it makes it very difficult, especially in these economic times, to keep things going with software that we have to pay for, as well as many other details, getting time off of work and all that. But appreciate y'all. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek again for those that joined later. Let's go ahead and take a look at that 7-day forecast. Oh, yeah, that would be a good idea. I've heard of that. Low tech, I appreciate that. It might be a good idea. Well, it definitely is a good idea. I'm just a little leery. Unfortunately, there ends up being a lot of trolls on here. Um, Not necessarily you, but just a lot of people that ends up, and then you get hacked. There's so many things with technology With great technology comes a lot of insecurity sometimes. So that is something that I definitely need to work on. So I will do that. So here's the 7-day forecast. Again, our great sponsors that we have: Mission Nutrition, Fit Revolution, Refuel Nutrition, and Prairie Pro General Contractors. Uh, the weather is going to be continued dry, as you can see there. Again, the 40% chance of showers for Thursday, but I really think that's overdone. It's probably more like 10%, maybe some light sprinkles at most. And then as we get into next week for South Dakota, Sioux Falls area, that's when we start to see more of the pattern of some wetter weather, thankfully, some moisture. Don't think it's going to be anything real significant, but a little bit of relief is definitely going to be helpful. So thank you all for joining. Again, appreciate it very much. You guys have a safe rest of your day, rest of your work week. I probably won't be doing any other live streams until this weekend when I have some time off of work. But we'll keep you updated with regards to that. And then don't forget to tune in November 10th. We will have our annual winter weather season predictions. How much snow will areas like Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Sioux City, Iowa, Rapid City in the hills, Aberdeen, Pierre, um, we'll have all those predictions. It ends up being a fun time. I'm an analytical guy, so being a fun time trying to figure out how close to accuracy we can get that far out. As you know, Mother Nature is never staying the same, and I think that's the unique, fun part about weather. Maybe I'll have my son Nate, Mr. NATO's with Nate, join us as well if I can calm him down enough. God bless y'all.